Hey y'all, it's Mindy and welcome back to my channel. I'm so glad you've joined me today. I am here for another pregnancy update. I believe this is pregnancy vlog number 3. And today I wanted to talk with you a little bit about something that all pregnant women will have to go through and how it may or may not affect you in your pregnancy, and then also how it has affected me in my pregnancy, and that is gestational diabetes. I am currently 18 weeks pregnant. Today is March the 9th, and last week I completed my second round of glucose testing. So glucose testing is something that all pregnant women will have to do. Normally, you will do it between 20 to 24 weeks. However, if you have ever experienced gestational diabetes with previous pregnancies, or you're an older mother, which I fit into both of those categories, they will normally test you sooner. I took my first test at 16 weeks, failed it. It was the 1-hour test, and then I took my second test last week. But before I give you the results of that, I want to talk to you a little bit about what is gestational diabetes. A lot of people don't really understand it, so let's talk about it. Gestational diabetes is a form of insulin resistance that develops during pregnancy, and approximately 18% of all women will develop gestational diabetes. That's a very low number. So not everybody is going to develop gestational diabetes. If you are diagnosed with gestational diabetes, some of the effects of it can be that you may develop high blood sugar. If you do that, then the baby is exposed to these elevated blood glucose levels, and their pancreas increases insulin production to deal with these elevated glucose levels, and in turn that can cause them to get more energy than they need, and therefore they produce more fat. It's stored as fat, and so you have the risk of having a larger baby. It increases your risk of having to have a cesarean. After the baby is born, they could have a little bit of blood sugar problems right after they're born, with their bodies trying to adjust to not having that high glucose level from your body. It will usually go away after pregnancy, after labor and delivery, after your baby's born. However, about half of women may develop type 2 diabetes later on in life. So that is another risk factor for the gestational diabetes. What can we do to try and keep that from happening? Or what may cause us to be at a greater risk of that happening? Well, there are a few things, and one is ethnicity. 2 is having a history of diabetes in your family or with yourself. 3 would be obesity. So a lot of times if you are overweight, that can increase your risk. And then 4, if you're older, if you're an older mom, our bodies regulate hormones differently, and that could possibly put us at a higher risk. Normally, gestational diabetes has no symptoms, so you may not even know that you have it. But in some cases, you may develop a few symptoms. A few of those are excessive thirst. If you are constantly thirsty, that could be a symptom of gestational diabetes. Also, blurred vision, if your vision seems blurry. Weakness, if you feel faint or if you feel shaky throughout the day, that could also be a symptom of gestational diabetes. Finally, as if we didn't need more reason to have to urinate often, that is another symptom of gestational diabetes: frequent urination. And of course, it could be due to the fact that you're drinking more because you have excessive thirst. So those are a few symptoms that you may want to look out for. now that we have talked a little bit more about gestational diabetes and you have maybe a little bit better understanding of what it is, let's talk a little bit about how they test you for gestational diabetes. Like I said before, normally they will test you between 20 and 24 weeks gestation period. However, in my case, my first child, I had gestational diabetes with my son, and I am 38 years old, so I am a higher risk for it. So they went ahead and tested me starting at 16 weeks. Now, first they did the 1 hour test, and the 1 hour test is fairly simple. I believe probably most people fail it, but you basically have a little cup about this size, and they pour glucose in there. You usually have 3 flavors to choose from: orange, fruit punch, or lemon lime. Lemon lime is a new one. They did not have that with my 2 previous children, so that's the one I chose this time. And it wasn't too bad. I would compare it to like a really flat Sprite or 7-Up, something like that, but very flat. But the drink is extremely sweet. It has like 50 grams of sugar in it, I believe. So it is very, very sweet, and it is meant to spike your blood sugar. And then in 1 hour, they check to see how your body has handled that spike in blood sugar by testing your blood sugar level. Now, with the 1 hour test, they want it to be either 130 or lower. And they check this just by pricking your finger and running a simple test. So with mine, I failed. I think mine was like 169, I think is what it was. So if you fail, don't worry. It's okay. They are going to schedule you to come back and do a 3 hour blood sugar test. And normally they will set that up to be within a week after the 1 hour test. I went back for mine last week, so I was 17 weeks at that time. And for the 3 hour test, instead of drinking that small cup full, you have to drink the bottle full. And it's probably about this big. I don't know the exact fluid ounces or anything, but you have to drink the entire bottle. Now, that one is not that fun because you do feel a little woozy, or you may develop a slight headache just because it is so much sugar in your body at one time. So with that one, they test your blood sugar at a fasting level, and they do that by a prick of the finger, and then they test your blood sugar at different intervals, 1 hour intervals. And when you come back to do those testings, they actually draw your blood instead of just pricking your finger. There are several ways that you can pass or fail the test. Now, if you fail 2 of the readings, then you've automatically failed the test. Also, they told me that if your blood sugar were to be 200 or more at any given time, you have failed the test automatically. If you pass 2 readings, then you don't have to come back for the 3rd reading. So that is pretty nice. With my test, I passed the fasting number, and then I came back at my 1 hour interval and I passed it. And then I came back for the 2nd hour interval, and thank the Lord, I passed. I was so happy. And I barely passed, but that's okay. I passed. That's all I care about. It had to be 155 or lower, and I was at 154. So thank goodness I passed. Also, with my last daughter, I did not have gestational diabetes. So I'm not sure if it's a girl thing or not, but with both of my girls, I have passed the test and have not had gestational diabetes. When I did have it with my son, if I did eat something that was high in carbohydrates or sugar, then a lot of times it would make me feel kind of sick. Sick to my stomach, just not feeling quite right. But I was very fortunate. I was able to control it the entire time with my diet. And that's the next thing I wanted to talk with you about is, okay, what happens if you do have gestational diabetes? What do you have to do? They will require you to start keeping a log of your blood sugar levels. So all throughout the day, 3 to 4 times a day, you will have to check your blood glucose levels and record that. And normally they will start you out controlling it just by your diet. My doctors, they sent me to a dietitian, and that was very, very informative and helped me tremendously. So they do try to help you with your diet and making sure that you're eating the right things. If you're able to control it with your diet, then that's all you have to do. Just check your blood sugar levels each day and control it with your diet. Now, if you're not able to control it with your diet, at that point they will look at putting you on some type of medication. Controlling it with your diet is the best way to go if you're able to do so. I did control it really well with my diet. However, my son ended up being pretty big. He was a very healthy baby though. He was 8 pounds, 12 ounces, and unfortunately, I had to have a C-section. Now, my body decided, I guess, that it just wanted to stay pregnant. It didn't want to have a baby. So even when I was past 40 weeks, my body was not doing anything preparing for giving birth. I had no thinning, no dilating, no contractions. The baby seemed to be in the right position, but my cervix was just up and in place for pregnancy, not for labor and delivery. And at that time, once I was past 40 weeks, they said the baby was possibly 9 pounds and 4 ounces. The doctor did tell me that it could be off either way about 4 to 6 ounces. So the concern was that if it was off in an upward direction, then I possibly had a 10-pound baby inside of me. And the way the doctor put it to me was, Mother Nature sometimes has a way of telling us if we can handle a natural delivery or not, based on how our body is handling the pregnancy and preparing for giving birth. My body was not doing anything, and I wanted to have a natural birth so bad. I remember in the doctor's office asking him if I could just go home and talk it over with my husband and my mom and take the weekend to think about it and try to go into labor. And then he said, that's fine, but if you have not done any of that, then we definitely need to go ahead and plan to do a cesarean. So I did move forward with a cesarean, and I believe it was the right decision. One thing that I think helped me to decide that was I did not want to go into labor and him be too big and me not be able to have him, and then have to go into an emergency C-section. And that was definitely a possibility. Also, they would not induce me. And the reason was because my body had not started making any changes whatsoever, and because of his size. So, there are some things that come into play when you have gestational diabetes. If that happens to you, though, don't feel like you have failed or you're not good enough, because you are. You are more than enough. Even a cesarean, a C-section, it is just as big, as important as giving natural birth. You have went through surgery to have your baby in your arms. So don't ever think that you failed as a mother. After having a cesarean, there is a chance with your next child that you can have a natural birth. and that you may be able to still experience that. That was not my experience. With my daughter, my second child, same thing. I did not have gestational diabetes. She was not weighing in too large, but again, my body would not go into labor. It would not prepare for giving birth. Past 40 weeks, and once again, no changes. Also will not induce you after having a cesarean, because one of the medications they give you, I believe it's Pitocin, can weaken the scar, and it can just cause you several different risks that are not good for you. So they will not induce you after you've already had one cesarean. I'm on my third child. Again, I do not have gestational diabetes. I'm so happy. I don't have to check my blood sugar every day. I'm still taking my shots for blood clots, so I'm glad that I only have to deal with one needle a day. That makes me really happy. I already know that I will be having another cesarean, another C-section. After having 2 C-sections, they do want to just go ahead and plan it. And mine right now is set up to be at 38 weeks. They do it 2 weeks before the due date. That way you don't really run the risk of going into labor. I don't feel like I would have that problem because, again, the last 2 times my body didn't do anything. If I were to go into labor with this child, I would be very surprised. Very, very surprised. But they are planning to take her at 38 weeks. And as of right now, that will be the end of July. But anyway, let me show you the baby bump. I'll turn to this side, but my shirt may mess it up a little bit. All right, so there you go. There she is. She's growing, and we're both doing very well, very healthy. I hope there's something that I talked about that will maybe shed a little more light on gestational diabetes, what it means, what to expect. If there's anyone that you know who is going through this, just share this video with them. Maybe it will help them in some kind of way. If you did like this video, please give it a thumbs up. That really helps my channel and helps to be sure that other people may be able to see this video and help them as well. But I'm so thankful for you joining me today, and I hope that you will have a blessed day, and I can't wait to talk with you next time. Bye, y'all.
Another season